Our next two guests work for the Royalty Exchange, the leading online platform for buying and selling royalties. Pretty interesting, Sarah.
Yeah, I like
I'm interested in this one. Jeff Schneider and PJ Milkus are here to discuss how their marketplace works. We have lots of questions. And how they've brought transparency to a historically private process. Royalties.
Hello. Buying and selling royalties.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's. I would say first, even step back and understand kind of the investment thesis. Is that this is an asset class that has been around for a long time. It'll be around for a long time. The copyrights on royalties last for 70 years beyond the life of an author. So they're long-lived assets. And the music business, after the introduction of Napster and iTunes, really hit a rough spot, and it's really transformed. And so now we're at a point where investors are showing a lot of interest in investing in royalties because of the growth in the music space.
Wow. So I've heard, and this could be incorrect, but I've heard that for publishers, right, they make the majority of their money from royalties. Do you think that that's true?
Well, so publishing is, so if you think about it in the process of how music's created, first it's kind of written and the music is created,
Yeah.
and then it's performed by a performing artist. So the publisher is kind of that initial creation of the work between the lyrics and the music. So a lot of their income is through royalties from the end production of the song.
Okay, interesting.
So, PJ, how'd you get mixed up in this?
Oh yeah, so thanks for having us on. Obviously, I saw basically what the amount of demand that investors and that basically was out in the marketplace for music royalties. I mean, it's been incredibly interesting since joining the firm, since joining Royalty Exchange earlier this year. It's an interesting situation. I've been in business development, sales roles for over 10 years. For a little bit over a decade, I was actually on Wall Street here in New York. And I decided to uproot my life and move out to Denver to join Royalty Exchange based on just the growing amount of interest in investing in royalties, the fact that you're obtaining uncorrelated income that's uncorrelated to the stock market, uncorrelated to bond markets, commodities. And like Jeff alluded to, the music industry is booming. Thanks to digital streaming, the growth of technology and advancements in technology, there's a lot more revenue coming to royalty owners than there has been in the past, different sources, and it's really a quite interesting time.
So how do you guys find out, I just want to make sure I understand the process from kind of like start to finish. So somebody makes a song, they publish it on like Spotify or iTunes or wherever. You guys, like where do you guys fit into that mix? Like early on or later?
Yeah, good question. So ultimately what we're working with are artist performers. It's actually the broad ecosystem of musicians and creators. So oftentimes we're not working with the mainstream artist. We're working with like a large ecosystem. There's hundreds of thousands of people out there who have helped write a song, produce a song, or they manage the artist. And they all have royalty income streams associated with the music you hear. And so almost wherever the music you hear, whether it's on the radio or on Spotify or in a movie or a TV show, all of those payments go into a more centralized space, and then they get distributed out to the rights holders. So what we're doing is we're not necessarily a part of the royalty process itself. What we're doing is helping these creators be able to finance or monetize their careers by selling a percentage of their back catalog. So we're really flexible in terms of having them, come to us with kind of an end goal. So a lot of our creators say they want to build a studio in their own house so that they can produce more music. They'll come to us with an objective. We'll have a look at what they have, and then what we do is connect them to investors.
So you help musicians in the end?
Yeah, in the end, that's really, musicians have historically been taken advantage of. I mean, I think, a lot of people are aware of kind of the situations and deals that they've gotten into. But in today's world, as decentralized listening habits have come across, they have the kind of pendulum of power is coming back to these musicians. And you have, hundreds of thousands of investors. We have about 20,000 investors on our platform. Wow. But these investors are looking for yield. They're looking for kind of long-term cash flow. that's not necessarily correlated to the stock market, and they're finding that in music royalties.
I think one thing that I'd also like to mention, that one of our major goals and missions of Royalty Exchange is alleviating the frictions that have traditionally existed between buyers and sellers of these types of assets. And what we're really looking to do is bring transparency, liquidity, and basically price discovery, just more of a marketplace type of situation to the exchange and the transactions around royalties.
So, if you're a musician, last question here. If you're a musician, what do you need to know in today's world? What has changed? You know, we had a former Pussycat Doll here on not too long ago, and she was telling us that back then the deals were a little lopsided. So today the landscape is a lot more flat. But with this flat landscape, there's a lot more options. What do you say to young artists?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the main thing to understand is that the control and the pendulum is swinging back. They have with social media, they can produce and own a lot more of what they historically couldn't. You know, it used to be that if you wanted to get any sort of distribution, you had to have a deal with one of the major publishers or labels, because the only way you could get on the radio or get into 1,000 CDs, that the CD store can only keep in inventory. But now, you can do all of the ground game yourself. In reality, the music business, you do have to do a lot of the ground game yourself. But by developing a social following and doing, getting out and doing live performances, you can really start your career that way.
Basically, they have options.
Cool. Jeff and
cool.
PJ from Royalty Exchange, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.